So let's remember that Thales, he's a monist like Anaximander and like Heraclitus and like Parmenides. But I want you to remember that he said there was no difference between the living and the dead, and that he claimed that the magnet has a soul. So even what we would consider inanimate objects are actually animate. They have some kind of animating force, it seems to be. So he's saying there's no difference. That sounds like a lot of what modern materialists would say, but he's saying the magnet has a soul using this word. He may not be exactly the same as a materialist. He could perhaps be like a vitalist, but a vitalist who believes that all things have this living principle. And it was his explanation for action at a distance. He couldn't think of any other reason why two magnets would attract other than the fact that they were alive and had some motive force. So he's dealing with the idea of time here and action. The same, well, with Anaximander, he thinks about the same kind of things, but he decides that the world is made of definite things and indefinite things which actually never cease to be. The indefinite things are eternal. It's very important. The indefinite is eternal. It's unlimited as well. Okay? Now, you can see already that they're playing with ideas about time and space. And this is why many of these ideas are still important today and still being discussed at the limits of science. Now, he says that definite things, this is the world of becoming. Becoming just means a world of change, a world where things are born, they live, and then they die. Okay? It's a cycle of change, the world of becoming. But he decides that these definite things, which change all the time and which are constantly being born and then dying, that they must have an origin in something which is indefinite, in something which is eternal, which never is born and never dies. And we can call this a world of being, because it's a world of sameness. This never changes. This changes all the time. Now, it's interesting that he makes this distinction, because when we look at the next two philosophers, Heraclitus and Parmenides, we see that they both have studied Anaximander. These two were from the same town, by the way. I don't think, in fact, these guys weren't, as far as I remember. But they look at Anaximander, and Heraclitus says that the world of being, this world is an illusion. The world of becoming is the only real world. Now, Parmenides, he says the opposite. He says there's no world of becoming. This world is an illusion. But the world of being, the same world, the eternal world, that's the only real world. Now, this is very important even for modern times, because really we're playing with two ideas of time here. We're playing with the idea of time that only the present moment is real. We call this philosophy of time presentism. Only the present moment is real. The past is already unreal, and the future, which is yet to be, still remains unreal. The idea of eternalism is the opposite. It believes that the past and the present and the future are all equally real, but the whole universe seems to not change. It basically takes the idea of time and makes it very similar to the idea of space. This is where Parmenides comes very close to Einstein, and I'll go into that in more detail in the next lesson, which will be only on Parmenides. But at the moment, I just want you to see the contrast between Heraclitus and Parmenides. This guy thinks that all change is illusion, all becoming is illusion, and the world has always been the same and will always be the same. Space and time are the same thing. He's an extreme monist. You know, everything is the same. There are no different things for Parmenides. Obviously, you may think that this is a crazy idea, but you can see how close it is to modern theory.